Before and after. This tiny Paris apartment looks like twice the home. There is something wonderfully deceptive about a tiny Paris apartment. From the doorway, you may think there simply isn't enough room for comfortable living. The walls seem close, the furniture competes for every available corner, and even ordinary belongings can make the space feel crowded. But today we're going to look at a different way of seeing a small home. One where thoughtful design can make the same apartment feel almost twice as spacious. Before the transformation, this apartment had a very common problem. It wasn't necessarily too small, but it wasn't using its space wisely. Furniture occupied valuable floor area, storage seemed to be an afterthought, and visual clutter made the rooms feel even tighter. This is an important distinction when discussing small space design. Sometimes the answer isn't adding square footage. Sometimes the answer is simply understanding the square footage you already have. The first thing we notice in a cramped room is usually the lack of space. We see furniture, objects, shelves, and doorways before we notice the architecture itself. That is exactly what happened here. The apartment had attractive bones, but those qualities were hidden beneath visual noise. The goal of the makeover was therefore not to make the apartment look empty, but to make its best features easier for the eye to discover. And underneath all that clutter was something quite special, the unmistakable character of an older Parisian home. There was a sense of history in the proportions, the windows, the traditional details, and the imperfect charm of the architecture. Rather than covering those elements with an overly modern renovation, the design approach celebrates them. That's an important lesson. Small homes often become more beautiful when their original personality is respected rather than erased. transformation begins with a surprisingly simple idea. Stop making everything compete for attention. In a small apartment, every chair, table, lamp, shelf, and decorative object occupies both physical and visual space. By removing unnecessary pieces and simplifying the arrangement, the room immediately begins to breathe. Nothing magical has happened to the floor plan. The walls haven't moved. The apartment simply has fewer things demanding our attention. One of the easiest ways to make a compact home feel larger is to improve circulation. When furniture blocks natural walking paths, the room feels fragmented. Here, the new arrangement creates a clearer route from one area to another. You can move through the apartment without constantly navigating around objects. That small change has a surprisingly powerful psychological effect, because the eye can now travel farther across the room. The furniture chosen after the makeover feels deliberately scaled to the apartment. Instead of oversized pieces that dominate the room, we see furnishings that provide comfort without overwhelming the architecture. This is where small space design becomes less about decoration and more about judgment. A beautiful sofa is still the wrong sofa if it consumes half the room. Good design asks a simple question: does this piece earn the space it occupies? The living area is perhaps the clearest example of the transformation. Before, the furniture arrangement made the room feel compressed. Afterward, the seating feels more intentional, with enough breathing room around each piece. The result isn't an enormous living room. It is something better, a room that feels comfortable at its actual size. And that is one of the secrets of successful small apartment design. Color also plays a major role in changing perception. The new palette feels calm, warm, and restrained, allowing the architecture to become part of the decoration. Instead of filling every surface with strong contrasts, the design uses softer transitions between walls, furniture, textiles, and accessories. This doesn't mean everything has to be beige. It means the colors work together rather than creating visual boundaries that make the room appear chopped into smaller pieces. Natural light is one of the greatest assets in any small apartment, and this makeover makes better use of it. Heavy visual elements are reduced around the windows, allowing daylight to travel deeper into the room. The effect is subtle during the day but powerful. Brightness creates a sense of openness, and in a compact home, that feeling can be almost as valuable as additional square footage. Parisian windows have their own personality, so the design doesn't need to compete with them. Instead, the treatment around the windows remains relatively simple, allowing the natural light and architectural proportions to stand out. This is a useful lesson for anyone living in an older apartment. Sometimes the most expensive-looking design choice is simply knowing what not to cover up. Storage is often the biggest challenge in a small home. We need places for clothes, books, kitchen equipment, and everyday objects, but cabinets can quickly make a room feel boxed in. The solution here is to think vertically and selectively. Storage becomes part of the architecture rather than a collection of separate containers. When storage has a consistent visual language, it disappears into the room instead of becoming the room. the most satisfying parts of the transformation is seeing forgotten corners become useful. A narrow wall can hold shelving. An awkward recess can become storage. A small section near the window can become a reading spot. These aren't dramatic renovations, but together they change how the apartment functions. In a tiny home, a few well-designed corners can provide more value than one large piece of furniture. The kitchen originally felt like it was fighting against the limited footprint. Counter space, storage, and movement all needed to coexist in a compact area. That's a familiar challenge in Paris, where beautiful older apartments weren't always designed around today's appliances and lifestyles. The makeover approaches the kitchen as a working environment first and a decorative space second, proving that practicality can actually make a room look more elegant. After the changes, the kitchen feels easier to understand. The important areas are visually organized, frequently used items are within reach, and unnecessary objects are kept out of sight. This is what efficient design looks like in practice. Instead of asking how much can be squeezed into a small kitchen, we ask what actually needs to be there. That shift can make everyday cooking feel considerably less stressful. What's fascinating is that many of the improvements are not spectacular on their own. A slightly smaller table, a better storage solution, a cleaner countertop, a more carefully positioned lamp. Yet these decisions accumulate. Small spaces reward consistency because every design choice is visible. When several thoughtful decisions work together, the apartment begins to feel larger without requiring a dramatic structural change. A compact dining area has to work hard. It may be used for breakfast in the morning, paperwork in the afternoon, and dinner in the evening. The new arrangement recognizes that flexibility. Instead of treating the dining space as a formal room with a single purpose, it becomes an adaptable part of the home. This is a useful idea for anyone living in a studio or compact apartment. One area can serve several roles without looking temporary. Then we arrive at the bedroom, where the transformation becomes especially important. Bedrooms in small apartments can easily feel crowded because the bed naturally occupies a large percentage of the floor. Here, the approach is to simplify everything around it. The bed becomes the focal point, while storage, lighting, and accessories support the room rather than competing with it. The result feels restful instead of restrictive. The bedroom demonstrates another useful principle. Visual breathing room matters. Keeping pathways clear and reducing unnecessary furniture creates more space around the bed. Even a few inches can change how a room feels. When you can see the floor extending around furniture, your brain interprets the room as more open. It's a simple psychological trick, but one that designers use constantly in compact interiors. Even when a complete built-in renovation isn't possible, thinking like a built-in designer can help. Furniture should fit the architecture rather than simply being placed inside it. Tall storage can use vertical space, shallow shelving can occupy narrow walls, and furniture can be selected according to the room's proportions. The principle is straightforward. In a tiny apartment, unused vertical space is often the most overlooked resource. The bathroom may be small, but that doesn't mean it has to feel forgotten. In compact spaces, consistency is especially important. Too many finishes, colors, or competing patterns can make a tiny bathroom feel even smaller. A restrained material palette, clever storage, and good lighting create a sense of continuity. The room remains compact, but it feels deliberate rather than compromised. successful apartment should look good not only in daylight but also after sunset. That's why layered lighting matters. Instead of relying on one bright ceiling fixture, the new atmosphere can be supported by softer sources at different heights. A table lamp, wall light, or carefully positioned accent light creates depth. Suddenly, the apartment feels warmer, more intimate, and much more like a home. The Parisian character of the apartment doesn't come from filling it with antiques. That's an important distinction. Vintage charm works best when it feels collected rather than staged. A traditional chair beside a contemporary lamp, an aged frame against a simple wall, or classic architectural details paired with modern furniture can create a layered look. The goal isn't to recreate the past exactly. It's to let the past and present have a conversation. There's an interesting relationship between luxury and small spaces. We often assume luxury means more objects, more decoration, and more expensive finishes. But in a compact apartment, luxury can mean having enough room to appreciate what is already there. A beautiful material needs breathing space. A special chair needs visual importance. A piece of art becomes stronger when it isn't surrounded by 10 competing objects. And this is where the title begins to make sense. The apartment hasn't literally doubled in size. Instead, its usable and perceived space have expanded. Clearer pathways, better storage, calmer colors, appropriately scaled furniture, and stronger organization create the sensation of additional room. This is one of the most valuable lessons from the entire makeover. Spaciousness is partly a measurement, but it is also an experience. If we step back and compare the before and after, the transformation becomes easier to understand. The original apartment wasn't necessarily lacking potential. It was lacking clarity. The makeover reorganized the relationship between furniture, storage, light, and movement. Each area now has a clearer purpose. And when every part of a small home understands its role, the entire apartment becomes easier to live in. There is also a practical lesson here that goes beyond interior design. When a home feels cramped, our first instinct can be to buy another storage box, another cabinet, or another organizing product. But sometimes the better solution is to own fewer things. Before adding storage, ask whether the item needs to be stored at all. That question can save money, reduce clutter, and create more genuine space than another piece of furniture ever could. What makes this transformation particularly appealing is that it doesn't feel like a showroom designed only for photographs. A real home needs books, clothing, dishes, coffee cups, paperwork, and the occasional mess. Good small space design doesn't eliminate real life. It gives real life a place to happen without allowing everyday objects to take over the entire apartment. That balance is what makes a home feel both beautiful and believable. Although this apartment is unmistakably Parisian, the ideas can work almost anywhere. An older flat in London, a compact apartment in Toronto, a small city home in Melbourne, or a modest space in another historic neighborhood can benefit from the same principles. Respect the architecture, improve circulation, use vertical space, choose furniture carefully, control visual clutter, and most importantly, design around the way people actually live. Perhaps the most encouraging part of this story is that not every transformation requires tearing down walls. Sometimes a room can change dramatically through layout, lighting, storage, color, and furniture selection. Of course, structural changes have their place, but they aren't always necessary. For homeowners working with a limited budget, this is good news. The biggest improvement may begin with a tape measure and an honest look at what isn't working. There is also an emotional change that numbers cannot measure. A cramped home can quietly create daily frustration. You bump into furniture, struggle to find things, and constantly feel that the apartment is closing in around you. After thoughtful organization, those small frustrations begin to disappear. The home becomes easier to move through and easier to maintain. And that can make a surprisingly meaningful difference to everyday life. Ultimately, the Parisian feeling isn't created by a checklist of French furniture or decorative objects. It's created through proportion, character, restraint, texture, and a willingness to mix old and new. The apartment feels connected to its setting without becoming a theatrical imitation of Paris. That distinction matters. The best interiors don't announce their style loudly. They let you discover it gradually. Looking at the apartment now, it's difficult to believe how much more spacious it feels without dramatically increasing its footprint. The transformation is not about one spectacular trick. It's the result of dozens of small decisions that reinforce one another. The before version felt like a collection of things inside a small room. The after version feels like a home with a clear identity, purpose, and rhythm. If there is one idea worth taking away from this apartment, it's this: small does not have to mean limited. A compact home can be elegant, practical, comfortable, and full of personality when every decision is intentional. The goal isn't to make a tiny apartment pretend to be a mansion. The goal is to make a small home perform beautifully at its true scale. And that is a much more interesting design challenge. So, after seeing this transformation, perhaps the question isn't whether the apartment actually became twice as large. It didn't. What changed was something more useful. The way the space works, the way the eye moves through it, and the way the home makes you feel. This tiny Paris apartment proves that thoughtful design can create room where you least expect it. And maybe that's the real magic of small space living. Learning that you don't always need more home. Sometimes you simply need to see the home you already have differently.